Hello there. As a child, I had heroes, whether they were firemen or my parents or whoever else they could have been or might have been. People who, in my eyes, always made the right decisions, who could do no wrong. And I expect that many of you had similar heroes as children, people who could do no wrong in your eyes. And it wasn't until much later in my life that I started to see that those heroes, whether they were in my life or not, did things that weren't perfect. They made mistakes. They were flawed. And really, the closer I looked at those heroes and the professors who were teaching me and the students I got to go to classes with and the colleagues I worked with, the closer I looked at them, the more I noticed that they may have areas where they're good. In fact, almost everyone has something they're good at. I might even go so far as to say that everyone has something they're good at, if I didn't dislike absolutes so much. But part of being human is that we have areas where we're not very good. One of the people who's influenced me in recent years is Jocko Willink, retired Navy SEAL. You can look up what he does. There's sort of a large emphasis on discipline in his area and on taking responsibility and protecting others. And yet, he'll also admit that while he is really good at those things, he'll tell this story about marrying his wife and talking about how before they got engaged, he told her that the military would be his first love, that came first, then her, then the kids. And I think a lot of us would see something wrong with that, and that your job shouldn't be the first priority in your life. It is important, and it helps take care of your other priorities, but that whether it's a loyalty to family or a religion or to your health or whatever it is, that there needs to be some sort of balance, that we can't have, or whether we will have, but we shouldn't be in a spot where we have this one area where we're really good, say discipline, fighting, leadership, and then these areas where we're falling short. And I don't pick out Jocko to say that he's doing these wrong. I don't know him. I just know of him, listen to some of his podcasts and read his books. And so I can't say I know him. I could listen to every single podcast he has recorded, read every book he's written, and still not know the man. It's just the way that the internet works. You can know of someone and know what they might say, but you don't know them. So pretending to judge someone that I don't know makes no sense, less than no sense if that were possible. But I bring it out because I think that his priorities show a very stark contrast, in that it's a real example of somebody who said, my work comes first. And he has his reasons for that, and I think that those reasons hold up. But it gives an interesting talking point of we're all humans and we're all deeply flawed people. It's just part of what it means to be human. None of us are perfect. There's only one person who ever was perfect, and by the time he comes back, we're going to have other issues than figuring out who has their priorities straight. We'll be beyond that. And so I'd like to encourage you to, instead of looking for that one perfect person who doesn't exist, who can teach you everything you need to know, look for people who are good in their areas. Just because someone is a bad businessman doesn't mean you can't learn about being a husband from them, if that's what they're good at. Or just because someone is a great mechanic but is terrible with raising their children and is never home, that doesn't mean you can't learn how to be a mechanic from them. Similarly with professors, you can have professors who are really good at, say, statistics, just because we've talked so much about statistics on this channel. They could be terrible at managing their finances. Don't learn about what they're terrible from them. Learn about what they're good at. And then you can take this amalgam of professor over here and the doctor over here and your colleague over here who each have different strengths. Learn about the strengths from them and then combine those strengths into your development so that you gain the best parts of them while avoiding the bad parts of them. And I'd say that really don't reject advice from people you see as being failures in an area. This could be especially difficult if you're good in that area. But by being open to what they are willing to teach you about what they're good at, there tends to be some sort of reciprocity in that act of if they're teaching you something, they'll also be spending time with you and learning about what you're good at. Maybe not intentionally, but they'll see it and it might cause them to start thinking or to prompt them later down the line and say, hey, I knew that person. They had their act together in whatever aspect of life, whatever arena it was. And so at that point, they might reach out to you. Hey, I'm struggling here. Can you help me? And they've already got that relationship, so they feel they might be able to ask you. But regardless, I want to encourage you, find people who are good at things. Learn how to do those things that they're good at. Ignore the things that they're bad at, as in, by ignore, I mean don't copy what they're bad at. It wouldn't make sense. Hope that you can rub off on them in the areas that they're bad at, but you're good at, and so you can both become better people. I think really this comes down to being like Abraham Lincoln. Remember, there's a book titled Team of Rivals. It talks about how Lincoln built his cabinet, and he had all these different people who were experts in their areas, and they had varying opinions on whether any topic could be solved in any particular way and whether or not they agreed with what Lincoln believed. But realize that you are in charge of what you bring into your life in terms of the choices you get to make, and that it's important to have experts around so you can learn how to do things well, but that no one is perfect. There is no savior out among humanity who will be able to teach you how to live the perfect life. Take what you can from what each of us has been given and build up to the best that you can be. So until next time, cheers.